Hello, everybody. My name is Altan Demirkaya. I'm a manager of global travel and a director at SKAL Vancouver. Welcome to the Tourism Talks, where we will talk to business leaders across the globe about the coronavirus and the future of tourism and some of their own personal experiences through this crisis. Today, I'm very happy and thrilled to introduce my guest, an industry leader, SKAL International USA President Dave Ryan. Dave is joining us live from beautiful California. It's great to see you, Dave. How are you?
Good, Alton. Thank you for having me today. I'm looking forward to speaking with you.
It's a great pleasure to have you, Dave. So how are you managing through this crisis personally? How are you holding up?
Well, every day is a new challenge. I've just been trying to keep myself engaged and relevant. I've done some online education courses. I completed the hospitality management course with Florida Atlantic University, which was a great opportunity, and I appreciate them for offering that to us. I'm just working on, staying engaged with SKAL, keeping in touch with our members, and waiting for the dust to settle and hopefully for companies to start hiring again.
Yes, so I'm glad that you are keeping busy there.
Yes.
And I'm a traveler just like yourself, so it's been really tough for all of us. So I'm really missing to travel again soon.
Yes.
And,
absolutely.
I think we all aware of the impact of the coronavirus on our industry and our lives. So what can we expect from the travelers and our customers after everything is settled?
Well, I think, I think it's going to be a challenge until we get a vaccine that's widely available. Everything that I've heard and read about the travel industry coming out of this is going to be people are going to probably stay closer to home once they venture out, maybe do short drive vacations, 2-3 hours drive vacations. And then slowly, as people feel safe, getting on airplanes and getting on cruise ships, that will, that part of the industry will start to come back. But it's going to be a slow process. But I think, the good thing about travel is people, there will be a huge pent up demand. And I think as soon as people feel safe, I think, the floodgates are going to open and travel is going to be great. But there's going to be a lot of changes with regards to, hygiene protocols at hotels and on cruise ships and on airplanes. And there's already changes that are taking place, and the airlines are being very aggressive with how they clean their planes every night and how they clean all the touch points. And now they're requiring passengers to wear masks. So everybody's obviously taking this very seriously and doing whatever they can to make customers feel safe. You'll see changes at hotels to the check-in process. You probably go to some kind of a keyless entry where you enter into hotels by just using a check-in from your phone, which some hotels have already been doing. So there will be a lot of changes. Some of them will be temporary. Some of them will probably be permanent. But once everybody feels safe, I think we'll be off and running.
Yes. So I agree with you, Dave. I think the coronavirus will be there for some time before we really have a vaccine. And in this period, travelers really concerned about the safety, cleanliness, and the disinfection qualities of the supply base. And nobody wants to take on the liability of somebody getting infected on a business or leisure trip.
Right.
So I'm sure there will be some changes on the supplier evaluation process. So from a supplier perspective, I think we need to build new standards in our operations. So I see there will be more money being invested on the housekeeping procedures, the cleanliness qualities, and the certification of this. I think this will be very important for, as you mentioned, for both corporate and lodging communities. I think the goal is to set an extremely high standard for reducing the risk of coronavirus in our businesses.
Absolutely.
And that the practices in place to achieve that standard are consistent through every phase of travel experience. I think which will be a big challenge, from the transportation to aviation and the lodging. So it will be very interesting to see how our industry will fight with this virus long term.
Yes.
So Dave, considering the number of cases in the US, do you think we will see an increase on the domestic travel first versus international travel? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, domestic travel will come back first. Um, and with borders being closed now, and who knows when the international borders are going to be open to the US. And I've even heard some rumors that because of the rise in cases in the United States, that a lot of countries may require customers coming from the United States to quarantine for 14 days, which will really put which will really kill international travel.
Yes.
So I think domestic travel will come back first. I think it'll be great benefit for a lot of places in the United States that I think people are gonna, the national parks will be very popular. More wide open spaces will be popular. And another thing that I think is going to come out of this is I think there's going to be a huge resurgence for people to go back to booking with travel advisors. A lot of people got burned by websites that went out of business overnight, and the travel advisors were there and are still there and are basically working for free right now. So I think people will, if they haven't understood the value of a travel advisor through this crisis, I think they certainly will. And I see a huge resurgence back to the frontline travel advisors, which is great for my business, because that's who I've worked with for my entire career, and they're the hardest working, most selfless people you can know, and they always have your back. And so I see a big comeback for the travel agents.
Well, that's great points, and I agree with you. I think travel agents are the key points in travel experience, and I'm sure the travelers now will see a big value on that moving forward.
Absolutely.
So I think it will take some time to gain the trust of the travelers again, and as you mentioned, I think we will see an increase on the domestic travel first versus international travel. And the other most important thing is to discuss, I think, the labor, Dave. And, our industry hit very hardly from that perspective. And our industry estimated to lost 8 million jobs as of the 1st of May, which is insane when I think about it.
Yeah.
And our casualties are growing every day. And without the travel demand, I'm not quite sure if we can see a job recovery in our industry. So from a tourism professional perspective, how is your view on the labor for post-pandemic?
Well, I mean, some of it will come back rather quickly. When hotels start to reopen, they'll start bringing back all those furloughed employees. So I think that will recover pretty quickly. As far as, restaurants and attractions, they're going to have to make some modifications. Disneyland and Disney World, when they reopen, they won't be able to fill their parks. They'll have to, operate at a reduced capacity, until there's a vaccine, probably. So it's going to be, it's going to be slow for some parts of the industry, and then other parts I think will come back, rather quickly. I know some hotels in some parts of the country and some parts of the world are starting to reopen, the ones that have been closed. So those employees will come back, and they may not hire the full force back, but the hotels will start to come back. And again, safety is going to be top of mind. Companies are not going to be able to discount their way out of this crisis like they've been able to do in other crises. If they were, the planes would be full now, because you can fly from LA to New York now for less than $100 round trip. So if discounting was the answer, planes would be full right now. It's all about safety, and people want to feel safe. We're coming up on 75,000 deaths in the United States from this virus. So, discounting is not the answer. It's going to be safety. And when people feel safe to get on a cruise ship or check into a hotel or a plane, things will come back.
Yes. And these are great insights. Thank you, Dave. And I'm thinking about it. On the other hand, I'm hearing from my friends in the industry that people are being headhunted by other industries right now. And some of my friends are moving on to other industries due to financial reasons or job security. So when I think about it, this is I mean, our industry is losing qualified individuals to other industries. Should we think this as a negative impact to our industry going forward? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it all depends on the timing. I mean, and where people are in their careers. I've been doing this for pretty much my entire career since I got out of college. So I'm not looking to move into another industry. I think there will be people that will be economically forced to move into another industry. But once you get this travel bug in your, and I don't want to use the word bug, once you get travel in your blood, it's hard to leave the industry.
Yes.
People move around a lot. They move from company to company, but most of my friends that got into this industry have stayed in for the long run because it's such an amazing industry, and
Exactly.
the camaraderie of even competitors in this industry is phenomenal. So yeah, I think we will lose some people for sure because of the economics of not being able to wait 6 months or a year until things start to turn around. But there's going to be a great talent pool that's still going to be out there looking for jobs when companies start hiring again.
Of course. And when I think about it, especially I'm talking about on behalf of British Columbia, I know that it's been challenging for hotels to find qualified workers. It was a challenge already, and with the impact of this virus, I think it gets more complicated for the hotels or restaurants, and I think there will be a long recovery for a job recovery in our industry for sure.
Right.
So Dave, I want to talk to you about the travel trends. And we are hearing from the experts that people want to travel to the places that are not overcrowded. And the United States is home to some of the most beautiful and popular touristic destinations in the world. And so do you think this virus will change the trends? What do you think about the travel trends in terms of the destinations and everything? And you are from California, so
well, we have some amazing places right here at home in California. From Big Sur to Monterey to Malibu. I mean, from Southern California all the way up to the Oregon coast, we have some amazing destinations for people to visit that are a little more wide open. And again, as I mentioned before, we have Yosemite National Park here, one of the most beautiful national parks in the world, right here in Central California. Yellowstone, some of the other national parks, I think will be very popular coming out of this. You may see more of a resurgence towards people traveling by motorhomes, and I've already heard that motorhome sales are up because people are want to go, and they're maybe still a little skittish about staying in a hotel, but so they'll
yes.
Drive to Yosemite, stay in their motorhome, and visit the national park. So I think some of these changes will be temporary. And some of the changes that we talked about as far as hygiene protocols, I think those will probably be here for good, and for the better. I mean, I'm very happy that everybody's washing their hands now. I think they should have all along, but so it's some of these changes, and I think the people practicing better hygiene will probably help come flu season every year, and so some of these changes are going to be good. Some of them will be temporary, and some of them will probably be with us, forever.
Yes. And I agree with you. I think it will take some time again for people to feel comfortable to travel again. And travel is, of course, means, I mean, there is a purpose in it, right? So you need to feel comfortable, or you have a purpose of traveling. So, and so in Europe, they call it like summer houses. They have summer houses that they go and spend some time in summer. And I know in North America, we have that as well. It could be known as a different term. I'm not quite sure what it is, but so do you think we will see an increase on that? So I was talking to my friends from Europe. They are thinking that they could see an interest on having the summer houses versus staying in a hotel.
Again, that's going to come down to a safety issue because I just heard yesterday Airbnb has laid off 25% of their workforce because there's no demand really for vacation rentals right now. Um, People that have vacation rentals are going to have to come up with, some protocols to ensure that the guests are going to be, safe, and that everything's been cleaned from the
Mhm.
prior guests. There's going to be a lot of changes on that as well. It has been a huge growth segment, vacation rentals, but they're also facing some challenges from local uh, officials that want to put a cap on it. I spend a lot of time up in South Lake Tahoe, and they're really cracking down on the Airbnbs because the neighbors
Mhm.
that live there full time are not happy that they have, people coming in every weekend with 10 or 12 people and partying all night. So there's a lot of challenges in that segment of the industry. It is a growing segment, but again, safety is going to be paramount, in the near term until we get a vaccine that's widely available.
Yes. So I also see challenges with the Airbnb in terms of cleanliness and the security for sure.
Right.
So in terms of air travel, I know that you have done a lot of traveling.
Yes.
From a traveler perspective, how is your view on air travel? So when I think about it, I'm not quite sure how they can maintain higher standard of cleanliness when they have recycled air in an aircraft. So how is your view on air travel, Dave?
Well, again, in the short term, the airlines have done what they can to make the few passengers that they're flying around feel safe. Most of the major airlines, as of this week, are requiring all passengers and crew to wear masks. Um, they've got a protocol for cleaning defogging the aircraft at night and making sure all the touch points, the tray tables and the armrests and everything
Mm,
have been sanitized, between each flight, and a deep cleaning every night. Um, they blocked out the middle seat on aircraft that have 3 and 3 seating. On aircraft that have 2 and 2 seating, they block out the aisle seats to maintain some separation. It's not, it's not meeting the 6 foot requirement, but they're doing they're doing the best that they can. And again, probably in the short term, I mean, the airlines are hurting right now, but they can't fly planes with 10 or 15 passengers on board and make money. That doesn't even pay for the fuel. So I think prices probably will have to rise, in the short term, um, until they get to a point where they can start filling their planes and filling all the seats on their plane. Because if you take out, half the seats, um, it's just not sustainable and profitable for the airlines to do that. And you can see, uh, I think Delta's parked 300 planes, Americans parked almost that many planes. So
yes, it's crazy.
um, even with a small percentage of their fleet in the air right now, they're still flying extremely low load factors. People that are only traveling if it's absolutely essential. So there'll be a lot of changes coming up.
Yes, and I also see, and I would like to see our industry investing on the new technologies as well. I think that will be a big trend for our industry going forward. From a traveler perspective, I don't want to wait in line at the airport for an hour where I have hundreds of people around me. I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Right.
Also, waiting
Right.
in the lobby of the hotel upon check-in. So I see more money being invested on new technologies to create a contactless experience for the
Right.
travelers. I think that's going to be very important. And
Yeah.
I
And
think that will make it easier for us, right?
I think that technology is already out there. Biometrics is available now, and I think you'll see the check-in process at TSA
Mhm.
revamped, where they will, do biometrics versus taking your driver's license and your boarding pass. Um, Everybody's going to try to create less touch points between, each other, and driver's license and credit cards being passed back and forth. So I think those technologies that are out there already, if you, I'm a member of Clear, so when I check in, if the airport has Clear, I just scan my retina or do my thumbprint, and
Mhm.
check in at TSA that way. So I think those technologies will become more widely used, and hotels will revamp their check-in procedures. There'll probably be plexiglass installed between, the person that's checking you in and the customer. There'll be physical separation lines on the floor to keep distance. Um, and even, like you mentioned, any place where there's crowds, people are going to want to avoid until we get a vaccine.
Yes, absolutely. And I was reading an article yesterday about the business travel versus leisure travel, and on the article it was saying that this could be the end of business travel. So when I read about it, it's really scared me, and I even don't want to think about it because I was a manager for business travel in Western Canada for years, and of course, as a tourism professional, we are very dynamic. We can move on to different market segments. But so, do you think about that? Do you think this is the end of business travel?
I don't. I don't think it's going to be the end of business travel. There's companies are always going to have meetings, and they're going to have they're going to want to have in-person meetings. So I don't think, I think business travel probably will take a little longer to recover than leisure travel.
Yes.
But it will recover, and salespeople have to travel and see their customers. Companies want to get their people together. So I think a lot of companies have discovered that there's things that they can do with remote employees, and companies have managed to, continue to operate without having people in the office. So I think that maybe some companies will shift to a remotely based model, and save costs on office space and things like that. I think companies have been able to discover that they can operate without having a physical office. But I think in general, what I do for a living is I visit travel advisors throughout Northern California and the Pacific Northwest, as far north as where you are in Vancouver. So when things come back, and if I'm working in a similar capacity, I will need to travel to Seattle and Vancouver and Portland, and so I think it, like everything else, there will be some changes, but I think business travel will come back, and it might be a little slower, but it will come back.
I'm glad to hear that from you, Dave. And so on the article, it was arguing about the importance of Zoom versus in-person meetings. It was saying that people are now realized how important to have Zoom meetings. And as a sales professional, I don't really agree on that. So, because from the sales professional perspective, I think building the relationship with our clients, in-person meetings are necessary. I don't think I can build a deep relationship with my potential clients or existing clients through Zoom.
Right.
And so I also support you on that idea. I think we need to travel again. We need to visit our clients for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something fun. Where would you like to travel first after all of this, Dave?
Oh boy. One place that's always been on my bucket list and I haven't made it yet is New Zealand. So
Wow.
I think that would be right up there near the top. I'd love to go back to Italy. I'd love to go back to Tahiti, but Greece, it was amazing. But I think New Zealand, and New Zealand is doing very well with this. So they're saying that might be one of the more popular international destinations to kind of open up first, because they've pretty much flattened the curve there, and they're on the way out of this. So I would pick New Zealand.
Wow,
How
New
about
Zealand
you?
would be amazing.
Yeah.
So for myself, actually, I supposed to be in Hawaii to celebrate my 30th birthday in May, which will not happen. But I would still love to go to Hawaii to make it up after all of this. And I have never been to Hawaii, so I'm looking forward to that. And other than that, I'm looking forward to travel to Istanbul to see my parents.
Oh, fantastic.
But South Africa is on my bucket list for sure. I'm really dying to go to South Africa and do a safari. Have you been to South Africa before?
I have not. That's right up there on my bucket list as well. And you'll love Hawaii. I've probably been to Hawaii 75 times, and I never get sick of it. It's an amazing destination.
Yes,
And
must be amazing.
I think Hawaii will do really well coming out of this. You don't need a passport to go there. Once they lift the quarantine and more flights resume, I think Hawaii will bounce back pretty quickly.
I'm glad to hear that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So lastly, Dave, what is your message to our industry or our viewers?
I think the message that I would just like to uh, tell everybody is, stay safe, practice social distancing. Um, the science is there that it works, and the sooner we, you know, practice these things that flatten the curve, I think that we'll be able to get to a point where people feel safe going out, people feel safe traveling, companies will start rehiring, but we just need to practice these measures until we get a vaccine. And it's, you hear varying stories about when that's going to happen. It's being fast tracked, hopefully before the end of the year. I think that would be fantastic. And I'm very optimistic that our industry and our economy will come back, but it's just going to take some time, and it's going to take some, it's nobody wants to be stuck at home. People want to go back to their businesses and go back to their normal lives, but um, it's we're still not out of the woods yet.
Yes. And thank you for being optimistic. And I'm also trying to stay positive, Dave. And I mean, thinking about a positive way, this could be a great, I don't know what is the right word, great time for our industry to improve from the, let's say, clinic
Yes.
perspective
Yeah.
or other perspectives. And I think both of us really confident that travel will come back, and hopefully travel will come back stronger than ever. I think as a tourism and travel industry, we need to adapt those changes and provide the best solution to our clients, no matter what. I think that's what we could do
Exactly.
as tourism professionals.
Yeah.
So before we go, Dave, I would like to take the questions from our audience.
Okay.
Let's give it a 5 minutes to receive the questions.
Okay.
I'm waiting because last time I got some feedback. Okay, perfect. That I was very quick ending the live stream without receiving the questions. So this
Oh,
time I would
okay.
like to take my time.
Okay.
Since most of the hospitality businesses have to take strict measures to protect customers, which include restricting interaction with customers, how do we ensure that we keep the core of our industry? What is customer service? Which is customer service? Uh, would you like to take on that question first,
So
Dave?
was it asking specifically about hotels?
Please, are you referring to hotels specifically?
Yeah. So with regards to customer service, obviously, um, practicing social distancing doesn't really lend itself to, that close customer interaction and that close customer service that people are used to. Handshaking, stuff like that is probably going to be, not back for a while. Um, and hotels will have to, you know, adjust their protocols. I have a lot of hotel friends, and what they're doing now is when a guest checks out, that room doesn't get, nobody enters that room for at least 24 to 72 hours. And then at that point, the housekeeping goes in and sanitizes the room, make sure all the high touch points are super sanitized. Restaurants in the short term are going to have to probably operate at 50%. Their serving staff will probably have to wear masks. So it's not really going to be probably a great customer service experience because of all these changes that are going to have to take place in the short term. But people are dying to go out to a restaurant and sit in, and everybody's a little tired of takeout, and the restaurant experience is all about going in and being there with a lot of people, and it's just going to be different in the short term. But again, when we get to that point where people can get vaccinated, I think we can return to the new normal, whatever that is. I do fear that a lot of restaurants aren't going to be able to survive when they do reopen at 50% capacity, and that's just an unfortunate thing. And I hope that the stimulus money is reaching these small restaurants that we all love in our hometowns, and I hope that there's some more help on the way for
Mhm.
a lot of these small businesses that are really suffering right now.
Yes, yes. And in addition to Dave's points, I would like to say that I think there is a process of the recovery in our industry, and I think the customers can understand all the measures that are being taken by restaurants and hotels. I know this is not the best time for customer experience, but when I think about it, we have to stay home right now, and I would even be happy just to go to a restaurant and keep practice the social distancing. So I think there is a process, and I think we will get better step by step, and I think the customers will understand that. And of course, this will impact the customer experience, the whole customer experience. When you check into the hotel, you would like to see smiley faces. Now we will be seeing people with wearing masks. And the last time I saw on the news, the health professionals in the hospitals, they they put their smiley faces, the picture of them smiling on their
Oh, that's nice.
uniform because they're wearing a mask. So that was a great idea. I think as tourism professionals, we can be more creative and do things like that in our
Right,
hotels
right.
or restaurants.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's another question. What is the best way to stay sensitive to clients' fears when I'm so excited about travel?
Well, you know, like I said, people are afraid right now. Nobody's traveling unless it's absolutely necessary. Once once we start flattening the curve, people will venture out slowly. And like I said, I think the domestic travel will do well as early as this summer. I think, as I mentioned before, Hawaii could really stand to benefit once they lift their quarantines and the airlines resume, their normal service. And if there's some great deals out there and people feel safe, um, they'll go. I mean, people are booking cruises for next year. There's no ship. I think the earliest ships are going to start sailing, they're saying, is August. Um, so there's a huge pent up demand, and I know all my travel advisor friends are super excited about travel and can't wait to get back to booking their clients' dream vacations and honeymoons and things like that. And it will come back, but again, it's all going to come down to safety. And if people feel safe and there's good deals out there, they're going to go. And people start getting back to work and consumer confidence
Mhm.
increases. I think Americans love to travel, and that love for travel hasn't gone away. It's just put on hold right now. And when people feel safe, they'll be knocking down the doors of travel agencies everywhere to book a vacation. So
Mhm.
I hope all my travel advisor friends, can wait this out and see the long-term future, which is going to be very positive for them. And with all of the bad experiences that people have had with online booking sites that have gone out of business or not answered the phone or not given their refunds, or I've just heard many, many nightmare stories. And I've heard nothing but positive stories about people that have booked with a travel agent, getting their money back or getting a future credit or whatever it is. It's just been such a more positive experience. And the other thing about travel advisors is they usually operate in local communities. They're not part of a big, corporation that's headquartered in another country. They're usually mom and pop businesses that operate in the local communities. And so you're not only, supporting the local business, but you're getting a very high touch, high quality service experience when you book through a travel advisor versus booking on a online travel agency.
Thank you so much, Dave. And also, as we talked about that earlier, I think there will be some changes on the supplier evaluation process as well. So our travel advisor friends, I think, will consider that, and when they communicate with the customers, I think they will be more confident on advising the venues or places when there are certain measures are taken by the venues or places.
Right, right. Yeah.
Let's see if there are other questions before we go. Okay. The question is, do you think that small businesses such as family-owned hotels and restaurants will be able to survive among big chains that might have more possibilities to provide technology and hygienic products to their clients?
Well, I mean, that's, that's going to depend on their financial situation. I do know that a lot of small boutique hotels have the opportunity to do things right away because they don't have to wait for instructions from their corporate headquarters. They don't have to wait for the government to tell them what to do. So small boutique hotels could actually thrive in this environment because maybe people don't want to go to a hotel that has 2,000 rooms because there's going to be, 4,000 people there. If you operate a small boutique hotel that only has 40 or 50 rooms, I think it might be, a lot more attractive to people that don't want to be in a crowded situation. So
Exactly.
as long as that boutique hotel can, assure the customers that everything's been cleaned properly, I think they could really, benefit.
Yes. And these are great points. Thank you, Dave. I think
Yeah.
it's all about the cleanliness and the safety
Right.
when we make
Right.
decisions on the restaurant
Yeah.
or a hotel. So I also don't
Absolutely.
see a negative impact on the small businesses from that
Right.
perspective, as long
Right.
as the venue is clean.
Yeah. It's just going to be a matter of, if they have the financial capacity to wait it out until things come back. That's going to be the hard question. And again, these small hotels, hopefully they're benefiting from some of the stimulus programs out there and are able to you know survive until it's time to go back to full capacity.
Yes. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
I think we don't have any other questions. So, Dave, I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sharing valuable insights with us today. So, I truly enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you,
So,
Alton.
thank you
I,
so much for joining us.
I enjoyed it as well. I'd love to do it again sometime.
Sure, we will. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thanks, Alton.
So, thank you all for joining us. And please continue to follow our live streams on Instagram. Stay safe and be well. Bye.
Bye bye.